It's 2002, you've just booted up the family PC, the monitor humming away as you sit down with a bowl of cereal. It's Saturday, and you've got the whole day to game. You load up The Sims. Life is good. The Sims 1 is a fond memory for a lot of us. Looking back, the formula was simple. Make your sim, build a house, maybe trap someone in a room if you were feeling a bit chaotic, which I'm sure we've all done for completely irrational reasons. For many, it was a completely different kind of game. There was no real end goal, no leveling up, just a life simulator. Managing needs, building relationships, getting a job, and trying to keep everything from falling apart. When it released in 2000, The Sims felt like a completely new kind of game. Most popular games at the time were about winning. They had levels, objectives, enemies to defeat, and while The Sims technically has some of those elements, they were mostly self-imposed. In reality, you could play without any direction at all. In 2026, we're pretty spoiled when it comes to simulation games, but back then, this was something new. A game focused entirely on everyday routines, eating, sleeping, going to work, socializing. It was really something we'd never seen before on that scale. The idea actually came from the creator Will Wright, who was inspired after losing his home in a fire. He became interested in architecture, rebuilding, and how people interact in the spaces that they live in. That eventually evolved into The Sims. Originally, the focus was much more on building and design, but over time the life simulation side became the heart of the game. Even The Sims themselves were unique. Instead of speaking a real language, they used Simlish, a made-up language designed to be understood emotionally rather than literally. And their behaviour is driven by a relatively simple AI, which is part of why they can feel a bit unpredictable at times.
5 minutes later.
For example, when there's a fire and my sim decides that now is the perfect time to make a salad. Despite how unusual it was, The Sims became a huge success. It went on to become one of the best-selling PC games of all time and brought in a completely different audience. Players who hadn't really connected with traditional games found something here, something slower, more creative, and more open. And when you look at other games around that time, there wasn't really anything directly competing with it. Sure, you had simulation games like SimCity, Roller Coaster Tycoon, but those were about managing systems on a larger scale. The Sims did the complete opposite. It zoomed right in and let you control individual lives. And on the surface, it all seems pretty harmless, even charming, cozy. But there's something about The Sims that just feels a little off. When I first got back into playing The Sims 1 a few years ago, I didn't really notice it at first. Everything felt exactly how I remembered it. The music, the gameplay, the daily routines, it was all very familiar, nostalgic, comforting, really. But the longer you spend in the world, the more that feeling starts to shift. There's something about it all that just doesn't sit quite right. And it's hard to explain at first, but once you notice it, it's pretty difficult to ignore. The emptiness. It seems very surface level, but The Sims 1 feels strangely empty. It could just be me, but when you play your specific lot, there's no neighborhood around you, there's no visible lots or buildings next to you, no sense of the wider world that you're living in. The house just kind of exists in this vast emptiness on its own, surrounded by nothing but grey matter. And I realise this is likely down to the development limitations of the time rather than some kind of grand conspiracy to make The Sims feel more liminal, but it does just add the first layer of creepiness, if you ask me. This sense of isolation, like your Sims are completely cut off from everything else in the world. Sounds, music, and silence. The most jarring aspect upon my return to The Sims 1 was most definitely the sounds. The music is iconic and for the most part was spoilt with some absolute bangers. that bring a sense of warmth and familiarity. But it doesn't stay that way for long. Out of nowhere, you'll get a really loud, jarring piece of music play. Typically, this is a sign that something bad is happening, usually a fire or a burglar or just something else that's gone wrong. But often it comes completely out of nowhere and there's no immediate event happening that you can determine the cause of, which actually just adds to the anxiety because it's playing for a reason, but we just don't know why. Your sim could be peacefully sleeping when the phone rings in the middle of the night. You quickly wake your sim up in hopes it's a random gift of some Similonians, and lo and behold, it's a spooky phone call telling you not to open the door or asking bizarre questions like, do you canoe? Most of these moments are genuinely quite intense, and it kind of cuts through the gameplay. For a moment, the complete tone of the game shifts into what feels like a horror. What might have felt calm and controlled moments ago now feels stressful and chaotic. It's a small detail, but it has the power to entirely shift the atmosphere of your game in seconds. Equally unsettling are the moments of silence, when chaos is attacking you from all angles. There's dogs peeing in your house, your plants are dying, the oven is on fire, a skunk's appeared on your lot, and your sim decides now is the perfect time to stand still and do absolutely nothing. These moments make the game go from something cozy to something rather unsettling pretty quickly. Sim behaviour. When things go wrong in The Sims 1, they really go wrong. There's no real safety net here for your Sims. If they suck at cooking and they stand too close to the oven, they catch fire, they die. The Grim Reaper collects them. That's that. No pleading with the Grim Reaper, no second chances, just immediate consequences for your poor life decisions. If you try and use the genie lamp to help with your money issues, he creates 10 times more bills for you to pay. Well, that's just tough luck, and now your fridge is getting repossessed. I do think The Sims tries to balance out these horrific, terrible moments with more fun gameplay, but sometimes I feel the balance is severely skewed. The real horror. But for me, the real horror under the surface of The Sims 1 isn't any of those things. It's the horror of the mundane. The Sims are constantly working 7 days a week. There are no weekends, no breaks, no Christmas or Easter. Day after day, the same routine over and over and over and over. Their needs are always dropping, and there's never quite enough time to keep them completely happy. You shower first thing in the morning, and by the middle of the day, your hygiene is almost depleted. They have breakfast, and they're never quite satisfied. And while you frantically flit between objects trying to fill these motives, the house slowly falls apart around you. Plants die. Cockroaches and flies infest your home. The toilet is clogged, and bills just keep on piling up. Everything is constantly in a state of decay, and unless you're actively juggling all these responsibilities at once, they continue to do so around you. And after that, it starts to feel less like a fun game and more of a horrific reflection of real life. Paying bills, cleaning your house, having a career, all while being horribly depressed, lonely, hungry, and never having time to relax. And yes, I am drawing a depressing parallel to real life, which I feel very much compounds my point when you return to the game as a 30-year-old.
Too old for this shit.
Nothing is ever truly stable, it's just under control temporarily. Even time itself is strange. Babies and children never age up, your Sims never grow old. It's just an endless loop of repetition, doomed to repeat forever. And for me, that's the real horror of The Sims 1. The truly unsettling part of this game that scares me the most. Because while you're hit with the realistic horror of the mundane, there are also the added elements of repetition loop. Like nothing will ever change or move forward, just history doomed to repeat itself. Ending. My opinion is that Will Wright and the developers never intended for The Sims 1 to feel like this. I don't believe a horror aspect was ever what they had in mind when they were in development. And at its core, I still think the game is cozy, nostalgic. It's the same game I remembered from my childhood, and I'm sure that's the same for many of us Sims 1 lovers. But reflecting back on it as an adult, there is this kind of strange edge to it, something just beneath the surface. No horror in the traditional sense. suspense. There's no jump scares, no chase sequences, but there's something about the way everything works, the repetition, the isolation, the lack of control, which feels like a bitter irony considering you're the one in control. And maybe that's why it stayed with so many of us for so long, because after all, it's not just what the game shows you, it's how it makes you feel. Thank you so much for watching this video on The Sims 1. If you did enjoy, please consider subscribing and liking the video for more spooky, cozy content. And let me know in the comments what unsettled you most about The Sims 1. Thank you for watching.